Hello students, it's Nazia Begum here, your physics lecturer, welcoming you all in today's lecture. So, in previous lecture we have discussed about Rutherford's model as well as Thomson's model of an atom. Okay, and in Rutherford's model we have discussed about its limitations as well. So, after the attempt of Thomson and Rutherford, Bohr also tried to put out an idea of arrangement of atom. Okay, so before going to understand about the Bohr's model of an atom, let us first discuss Bohr's quantization condition. Okay, so here you can see in Bohr's quantization condition, consider the motion of an electron in an circular orbit of radius r around the nucleus of the atom. Okay, so in Rutherford's atom it was clear that one atom is there. Okay, and how the arrangement is there of an atom. In the atom, at the center nucleus is there, and the whole mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus only, and the electron is revolving around the nucleus. Okay, so when Bohr attempted to explain the model of an atom, he took some idea from the Rutherford's Rutherford's model also. Okay, so here we first assume that electron is moving around the nucleus. Okay, and the electron is moving in a circular orbit of radius r. So according to de Broglie hypothesis, this electron is also associated with wave character. Okay, because what de Broglie have said, de Broglie said that with all the particles, whether it is electron, proton, etc., whatever light particles are there, when they are moving, a wave is associated with them, and that wave is called de Broglie wave. Okay, so when the electron is moving around the nucleus, the electron is having particle as well as wave character. Hence, the circular orbit can be taken to be a stationary energy state only if it contains an integral number of de Broglie wavelength. So, we must have 2 pi r equals to n lambda, where 2 pi r is the perimeter of the circle. Okay, and that perimeter of the circle should be equals to n lambda, where lambda is the wavelength and n is the number starting from 1. Okay, so here on the left hand side you can see one graph is given there. So here you can see some waves are drawn. Okay, in those waves you can see the number of wavelength as well. So in the first one we have wavelength 1, here wavelength 2, here in this third one we have wavelength equals to 3. So like that, whenever electron is revolving, okay, so here on the right hand side in the figure B you can see if the number of wavelength is 1, so that time you can see that innermost circle, here the circular dash line you can see, it is representing the orbit of the electron. Okay, and if the orbit is equals to 2 lambda, when the number of wavelength is 2, this one, that time we have this path. Okay, you can see this 8 type figure. Okay, this path is there, and if the number of wavelength there is 3, this one. Okay, so you can see the outermost structure, outermost dashed line. So here the wavelength is equals to 3. So like that, different wavelengths are represented here in this diagram. Okay, but according to de Broglie wavelength, lambda equals to h upon mv, and this wavelength we have already derived in the previous lecture. Okay, so here you can see this one, this is the value of 2 pi r, 2 pi r equals to n lambda. Okay, and here we are having the value of lambda which is equals to h upon mv. putting that value in 2 pi r equals to n lambda, we have 2 pi r equals to nh upon mv. Okay, then what will be the angular momentum of electron? The angular momentum must be equals to mvr. Okay, and this relation of angular momentum with velocity and radius, this we have derived in chapter 7, that is rotational motion. Okay, in that chapter we have derived the relation L equals to mvr. Okay, now here if we put value of mv from this equation, this second one, we can find out value of mv. So from that equation the value of mv will be mv equals to nh upon 2 pi r. Okay, so when we put that value here, r will get cancelled and we have nh upon 2 pi, where n equals to 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, so here we have got one condition for angular momentum, that angular momentum must be equals to nh upon 2 pi. Okay, where n is any number from 1 to infinite, h is Planck's constant, 2 pi they are the constants. Okay, this is the famous Bohr's quantization condition for angular momentum. So that means whenever any electron is moving around the nucleus inside an atom, so that time that electron must have an angular momentum which should satisfy this condition of nh upon 2 pi. Okay, this is only the allowed stationary states. Okay, an electron in which its angular momentum is an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, that electron can only be there in the stationary orbits. Now let's move to postulates of Bohr's atomic model. So here to describe its model, Bohr has given some postulates also. Okay, so let us discuss it one by one. So first one you can see here is written nuclear concept. So according to Bohr, an atom consists of a small and massive central core called nucleus, around which planetary electrons revolve. The centripetal force required for their rotation is provided by the electrostatic attraction between the electrons and the nucleus. When we were studying about the circular motion, that time we have discussed centripetal force in detail. Okay, so at that time I have explained you that whenever anything is revolving in circular motion, okay, circular orbit, so that time centripetal force is required. Without that nothing can move in circular motion. So here when the electron is moving around the nucleus in circular motion, so from where they are getting the centripetal force? They are getting the centripetal force by the electrostatic attraction between electrons and nucleus. Okay, in nucleus protons are there which are positively charged particles, electrons are negatively charged particles. So between them both there is attraction force. That attraction force is providing the centripetal force. Okay, so that was about the nucleus. Now second is quantum condition. So as we have discussed there, that when an electron is moving around the nucleus, so that time it must have an angular momentum which is equals to nh upon 2 pi. Okay, when the electron is having that angular momentum, only that time the electron will be there in a stationary orbit. Okay, otherwise the orbit is not stationary and we cannot decide the condition of the electron. Of all the possible circular orbits allowed by the classical theory, the electrons are permitted to circulate only in those orbits in which the angular momentum of an electron is an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, h being Planck's constant. Okay, so therefore the condition is written here, L equals to mvr. Okay, and n is a positive integer. Okay, this is called principal quantum number. So n here is a number which is called principal quantum number, and this equation is called quantum condition. Third, stationary orbits. While revolving in the permissible orbits, okay, permissible orbit means that orbit in which the angular momentum of electron is nh upon 2 pi. So while revolving in the permissible orbits, an electron does not radiate energy. These non-radiating orbits are called stationary orbit. Okay, so why now we are talking about a stationary orbit? Because in Rutherford's experiment, it was not clear. Okay, according to Rutherford, when any electron is in motion, it is continuously emitting electromagnetic waves. If that is true, so when electron is revolving around the nucleus, it will continuously emit the waves, and at last it will lose all its energy and fall into the nucleus. But that does not happen. Okay, so Bohr explained that thing by this postulate of stationary orbit. According to this orbit, electron does not radiate any energy, and that's why the energy of the electron is conserved, and electron is continuously moving around the orbit in an atom. Okay, around the nucleus in an orbit in an atom. Fourth, frequency condition. An atom can emit or absorb radiation in the form of discrete energy photons only when an electron jumps from a higher to a lower orbit or from a lower to a higher orbit. Okay, so suppose an electron is revolving around the nucleus, okay, and in that atom there are two energy levels, two permissible energy levels, E1 and E2. Okay, so suppose the frequency mu of the emitted or absorbed radiation is given by h nu equals to E2 minus E1. This is Bohr's famous frequency condition. Okay, so this equation h nu equals to E2 minus E1 is called the frequency condition. Okay, so let me once again explain you. H nu is energy, is the amount of energy, okay, which is radiated or absorbed when an electron jumped to higher orbit or fall to the lower orbit. Okay, so you can understand it in this way that suppose this is one nucleus. Okay, around the nucleus we have, this is first energy level, this is the second energy level. Okay, the first energy level is having less energy, the second energy level is having more energy. Now suppose electron is here. If here electron is revolving in this orbit of low energy, so when electron will absorb energy, it will jump to the higher orbit. And if suppose electron is revolving in higher orbit, so if it will radiate the energy, it will emit the energy, so it will jump to the lower orbit. So like that, whenever electron is getting the energy or emitting the energy, it will either go in higher orbit or it will go in the lower orbit. Okay, and the distance, the difference between two energy level is equals to energy emitted or absorbed by the electron. Okay, so h nu is the difference between the two energy level, so that's why it is given by E2 minus E1. So today we have discussed Bohr's postulates, and in next lecture we will discuss about Bohr's theory of hydrogen atom. Okay, so this is it for today's lecture. See you in next lecture. Till then, goodbye, take care, do some productive work, and the most important thing, be healthy, be safe.